Okay, so we're gonna be talking about Margaret Thatcher and the Cold War. I guess we'll start with some context of the Cold War. There was tension building between the United States and the Soviet Union after World War II because Europe had kind of lost all its power. And the coming of nuclear weapons and the fear of communism in the United States all led to the Cold War. Now, who is Margaret Thatcher? She was a politician. She was born in 1925 and became a part of Parliament in 1959. Now, two things you should know is that in 1975 she became head of the Conservative Party and later became the First Lady Prime Minister in the United Kingdom in 1979. And the second thing we should know is she was a good friend of Ronald Reagan. They had their first meeting in 1975, and they both shared similar thoughts about communism and what they thought freedom should be. She was also determined to help the oppressed people in Eastern Europe, and this leadership and determination she showed were reasons why she was important to democracy's defeat of communism. And although her election and re election would be controversial, especially between the older and younger generations, because of some internal conflict in Britain, as depicted in the cartoon you can see right here, Thatcher still had strong opinions, like wanting to weaken the power of trade powers and reduce welfare programs in the United Kingdom. Um, for example, she got the nickname Margaret Thatcher, the Milk Snatcher, after taking away a free milk program for children under the age of 7. But that's not her only nickname she'll get. We'll talk about that in just 1 minute. But first, during the Cold War, the US and the USSR were fighting to maintain influence. Soviets wanted to push communism while the US was trying to contain and diminish communism. The USSR, to push their view, set up Communist International. This was an attempt to help states convert to using communism. For example, they helped North Korea in the Korean War against South Korea to maintain communism in that area. And on the other hand, you have the US creating NATO. They created it because America and Britain were kind of feared that there would be permanent Soviet domination of Eastern Europe, and they were scared of the threat of Soviet influence throughout states. And so they created NATO to stop the Soviets' influence over Europe. And the United Kingdom would be right there with the US, supporting them through NATO. The US also sent their CIA to intervene in states where there was a chance that someone from the Communist Party had a chance of winning an election. They sent people there to try to stop that. So both very different ways of maintaining influence. One thing that I guess is not on here, but that should be right here in the middle for same is propaganda. They both used propaganda to influence their citizens and the people around them, the states around them, to kind of see who was right and wrong in which government should be used. And then I also put MAD here. MAD is a doctrine of military strategy and national security policy in which a full-scale use of nuclear weapons by two or more opposing sides would cause the complete annihilation of both the attacker and the defender. So both the US and the USSR knew this and used it to fight and influence people to choose sides without an actual war breaking out. Now these tactics were used to really influence everyone. The US influenced with NATO, they influenced Great Britain, like we talked about earlier, and they would soon influence Thatcher. That's right, Margaret Thatcher. She would be there to support them too. In fact, Thatcher was able to assist the stop of the Soviets' influence by speaking up against them, and she earned the nickname Iron Lady from a Soviet journalist who was trying to make fun of her, but she actually embraced this, and that's Margaret